right, it is 5 o'clock out there and here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit record. And what's up, everybody? Welcome to What's Up, the show where we talk all things energy, share some stories, share some laughs, hopefully, and give you the information you need to make informed energy choices. I'm going to be your host for this episode. I'm Colin Adkins. I'm an energy and environment resource educator with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Dutchess County. And I am joined by my fellow community energy advisors from Cornell Cooperative Extension, working on NYSERDA's Community Energy Engagement Program, Sean Welsh and Danielle Salisbury. Say hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello. How are you?
Through this program, local community energy advisors in 10 regions across the state of New York help residents and businesses reduce their energy consumption, energy costs, and make informed energy decisions. Our contact info is currently on the screen, as well as going to be posted in the chat and in the comments section on Facebook Live. Welcome to everybody watching from Facebook Live. We're happy you're with us. We're happy you're with us on Zoom. And this week, we're in week 8 of the pause order. We've been seeing the headlines daily about everything going on out there. There's a lot happening in the energy space as well, especially regarding the utilities. What are you guys seeing right now related to the pause order and our utilities?
Well, I think it's important to note, what the Public Service Commission, New York State Department of Public Services ordered for utilities to kind of do as far as what consumers have to deal with. So that means pausing shutoffs, halting all collections. They cannot add new late fees to bills, and they've been asked as well to expand matches into community assistance funds. So some good work has been done by our utilities to try to help, and we're going to talk about some more too, I think, today as we kind of have this conversation. And the pause order itself too has had an effect on some of the energy efficiency work and some of the energy work. I think you guys, are aware and have communicated that to a lot of the folks that we work with for some of these programs. But the pause order basically means that a lot of the contractors cannot go in and do on-site work right now until that's been lifted. So it's just important to note. So some of these programs that we will bring up as we go about this broadcast tonight and going on forward, they've been affected by that order.
Right. And yet, here we are. We're all at home. We're still using energy, maybe more, maybe less. And ultimately, despite the halting of collections and someone's ability to pay sort of being also paused, that we're all going to be obligated to pay these bills eventually. So, today we really wanted to have a conversation around what effect is COVID-19 and the stay-at-home orders having on home energy use. How can we prepare a little bit for the weeks and months ahead? So with that, I also wanted to kind of give a little context. Forgive my graph here, just about sort of the overall electricity consumption. I found this kind of interesting that across New York State, which is this black line, energy use is down. The grid is using about 8% less electricity on average right now. We in the Mid-Hudson region are kind of in this green line. It's a little bit above state average, but still overall less. But this includes residential sector and commercial and industrial. So there's a lot in that number, in that 8% lower than expected amount. So obviously there's a lot of uncertainty here, and hopefully we can help break down exactly what's happening. What are you guys hearing about electricity consumption out there right now?
Well, I think it's important, to think about that, what those numbers mean. So we have less of these big commercial furnaces, big boilers in the commercial sector working at full capacity right now. I'm sure a lot of people, building managers and supervisors of these kind of facilities are, you know, bringing those thermostats down and demanding less on the load individually in that respect. But that goes somewhere. You know, people are still here. People are still in the state, and they're at home. So we're, you know, those bills are still there, and it's kind of been transferred from the commercial side of things to the residential side. So as far as the energy use goes. And I'm hearing a lot about people's bills, you know, going up. A lot of, you know, when I'm talking to folks on the phone here and there, bills are going up. Costs are there. Luckily, we're coming into some warm weather months, so we'll start to see fuel use go down a little. But you know, the electric cost is there for sure. So what do we got here? Recent impacts on hourly load patterns. There you go. Some really impactful stuff. And is that everybody, Colin?
This is the whole grid.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting about how much that load pattern has kind of shifted. When we say load pattern, we mean over the course of the day, how much electricity is being consumed at 4 a.m. versus say 8 p.m. And how it kind of peaks up and then now is kind of steadily increasing throughout the day. Here on the right hand side, this blue line is the actual versus pre-COVID. You get this big surge in the morning. People are showing up at work. Industrial and commercial facilities are coming online, but then there's this sort of like dip in the middle of the day, and then we see another evening peak when everyone gets home and they run their big appliances, etc. But this load curve is changing, which I think is a really interesting thing that we're now able to observe. Anything else you guys are seeing or hearing out there?
No, I mean, I can talk about my current living situation.
Yeah.
I rent, I'm a renter, and I actually don't pay my own utility bill. So my rent includes my heat and electricity. So I personally haven't seen a change, but I know that's not a very common thing. And I know you both have different situations, even more so than I. So I don't know if you guys have been able to look at your energy bills at all to see a difference.
Well, I am in the current kind of process, as you guys know from working with me, of re-insulating and doing a pretty large renovation project in my house. So our fuel use has actually gone down, but that is directly result of adding, a lot of insulation. But the electric, use has gone up here over the last couple of weeks for sure. So yeah, trying to combat that, trying to just kind of look at how we're doing things, doing the basics that we talk about some of the content we put out online. I've done a little air sealing here and there and some little, cleanings of different appliances that you got to make sure the filters are good on and things like that. Trying to keep it as little as possible for sure. How about you, Colin?
I have actually noticed my electricity bill go up, and now I'm a renter like you, Danielle, but my entire residence runs on all electric. I have an HVAC heating and cooling system here, and then all my appliances are run on electric as well. So April of 2020 was actually higher than April of 2019. I think partially because we had a colder than average April this year, but it's also, just being home, it's opening the refrigerator several times a day when normally I would be at work, opening our work refrigerator. But other than that, I noticed that some of the things I did over the winter time to fix some drafts and stuff were actually, still holding, and didn't feel as drafty in here. So that was a good thing. But yeah, just being here and using all those little appliances, I think has really been adding up.
I think, people are home. Carolyn, we got this great little message here from Carolyn, our program leader over in Dutchess County with the SEEP program. She's got some really great points that I think a lot of people who are working from home are encountering, right? Those are of us who are still fortunate enough to work at home. Computers plugged in, the home office kind of going full tilt, right? Washer being run a couple times a day. You know, a lot of times our strategy, and that's something we've encountered too. A lot of times our strategy is like to try to run it on the night meter, you know, do a couple hour delay on the dishwasher, and that's just not feasible right now. It's funny you mentioned refrigeration. I found some really interesting stuff online. A blog post down in Texas. They were kind of looking at some usage rates. Refrigeration was one of the big things they've noticed so far in this past month's worth of data they have down there. I can tell you who posted it here.
Yeah, you shared that one with me earlier today. You want me to show that?
Yeah, Renewable Energy World. It's pretty interesting about refrigerants and how they're kind of seeing a really kind of a steep increase. And I mean, it goes hand in hand with everybody being home. Refrigeration, you know, use is going up. But I come from I do have kind of a little bit of experience with commercial refrigeration and kind of working in family business over a long period of time. And one of the things we noticed with kind of controlling overhead costs was making sure your refrigerators are cleaned and at capacity. So what I mean by that is really refrigerants and see where the intakes are on them. Make sure those are free of dust bunnies, anything that can get in the way of that air intake. Okay. And the other side of that is if you can get behind it and clean, you know, you want to unplug it if you're going to get behind it and look at the coils and clean those. But if you can do that, if you're physically capable of doing that, sometimes moving a refrigerator is not easy. That's a really good idea. But when I say capacity, I mean really kind of look at how much is in the refrigerator. Right now, I think a lot of people are putting as much as they can in, going to the store, limited amount, right? But if it's not filled to capacity, if you're only one person in the house or two people, fill up some jugs of water and put them in there. Same thing with the refreezer. Make sure that'll keep the internal temperature of the fridge kind of more constant and avoid some cycles of it kicking on. So that water or that, you know, ice would hold temperature for you. And then the other thing that I found in this blog post that was interesting was don't put in warm leftovers, which never really occurred to me. So that's a great one.
I always remember my mom telling me, you know, to do that, or like, why did you just put hot soup in the refrigerator?
Yeah.
Let it cool down and then put it in there. But yeah, something you don't think about right away.
Yeah, I thought that was a good tidbit. So let your leftovers cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Just don't leave them where your dog can get them.
Another good tip.
Oh, in there.
Yeah.
Oh, now Danielle, I know you live in a sort of small little cabin. Have you found, just depending on where your heating system is located and how you have things arranged, does that make a difference on your fuel use?
Yeah, definitely. I arrange my furniture based on the season. So I live in a nice little cabin it's mainly heated by electric heat, but there is a larger than needed wood stove, which heats up the whole place very quickly. But I love to use it in the winter. But since it's such a small cabin, my furniture arrangement has to coincide with not being right next to the wood stove. So my winter arrangement is kind of, all the furniture is away from the wood stove. I've got it kicking off a bunch of heat. And that's usually, I have that arrangement for fall and winter and early spring. And when April came around this year, I was like, it's April, I can finally move my furniture to the summer configuration, which is like I have a chair right up next to the wood stove, so I can't use it because it's actually touching the wood stove. And my sofa, also a corner of my sofa is close to it. And so I was really excited because it gives me this more open space to play with, to go through. And then April was so cold. I could have used my wood stove throughout most of April, and I could have actually helped save on my energy bill. But I didn't think that was going to happen. So, and I was not about to rearrange my furniture again. So Unfortunately, I had to use more electric heat during April, but definitely the way, I mean, I have to change my furniture arrangement just because my place is so small. But that's just my experience. I don't know what if you guys have to do anything of that nature.
Well,
I had a really similar experience, just moving stuff around. That vent got blocked, realized I had to move it back out, and the heat came back on. What about you, Sean?
No, I think both great points. You know, you got to, there's a lot of research that says to avoid tapping on the thermostat, you know, when it gets cold. Move your furniture, especially off exterior walls, you know, so those are those colder walls. And the other thing is make sure, as you just mentioned, Colin, that your air, your ducts and your registers, your heating registers aren't blocked by furniture, which would inhibit the room from warming up and things like that. So little tricks. I think we all, you know, everybody's got little tricks they have to do with their houses, right, Danielle? Like kind of like you just described. But, keeping an eye on those things can help you avoid messing with the thermostat.
Yeah, and if I had been more responsible, I had planned to get curtains, which also help keep the cold out. But as you can see, I do not have curtains right now. It's on my list of things to do.
Yeah.
And Sean, remind me again, what do you heat your home with?
I use oil. So we are, yeah.
Did you have to get any extra, oil deliveries or anything in April?
No, it was the same, same kind of consistent oil, the oil use. No. I digress. No, we lessened it. So April we had 50 gallons less than we would have had last year. So we're saving monthly, right now $75 to $50 based on. So I added a lot of insulation, a lot of different type of. I furred out the walls of my upstairs to get to energy codes. So I went from a 4-inch wall to a 6-inch wall, and try to bring up the R value in the kind of upstairs part of the home. I was kind of saddened about when I opened up the walls and found absolutely no insulation. And so,
oh no,
we're seeing a good benefit though now. So it's really made a world of difference for us.
That's awesome.
I'm happy to hear that.
The biggest thing for us is not even like the savings is kind of like secondary to the way the house feels. You know, it does. You know, we don't get that updraft that I used to feel kind of just sitting here. And I've really noticed it being home for this long a time in a colder kind of couple months. I've really noticed how slow that draft has become. And it's something we've touched on this, but folks, you know, and I've had longer conversations with people when I do touch base with folks about some things with work. And really, you know, I think that's based on people being home, right, and kind of looking for some social interaction. But the gist of it is folks are kind of, you know, that question: do you notice any drafts being home this long? And that has come up, like starting to notice those drafty places and those kind of uncomfortable spots sitting in a makeshift office or in their kitchens, you know, for a couple weeks now.
That's a really good point. You know, so anybody who's watching right now or watching later, let us know in the comments or in the chat. Let us know what you're noticing or experiencing at your home right now. I think that's a really interesting point. It sounds like a lot of the work that you have been doing now for a little while is starting to pay off because you're there a lot more.
Yeah, right. You notice it, you know.
And one of the other things I think about is these big economic impacts that COVID-19 is happening. And you hear about all these things. I remember sort of when everything was getting going, folks were very concerned about fuel prices. And that has a direct implication on our world, right? With heating fuels. So I found this really interesting graph, or maybe you found this one, Sean. Oh, of course, now it wants to refresh as soon as I pull it up. But it was an interesting comparison of just these different fuel prices and when they started to drop off.
Yeah.
So we think about energy, but energy it can be divided into that electricity component, or in my case, that's everything, and then the fuels component. So I pulled up this graph and I was looking at it today, kind of comparing our area of the state to New York State average, New York State again being this black line. And when these fuel prices started to drop off, if anyone has, low on fuel, but just needs to keep their house warm in these extra cool, lingering bits of spring here, fuel prices are lower. And I think that's a factor in energy costs that we've been talking about that is sort of the silver lining in this, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think, unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their jobs, unemployment spiked. We're going to see a lot more people eligible for programs that may not have been eligible before. So if that's the case, you've lost employment, please, reach out, MidHudsonEnergyChoices.org. Let us know. There's programs that we can help with, help your situation with. And it is important to note that the heat benefit has been extended through June. So the home heating assistance program, so folks could get some more help right now through June 30th, I believe, right, Colin?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So, and if you couple that with some other programs that we could line you up with, we could, like we said earlier, we could get you in the pipeline for some insulation help, and we can get you some other utility relief too. There's some programs that can help with your utility bills. So it looks like we have a question.
We do have a question coming in from Facebook from Claire. Do you think the oil prices will be low for this winter?
Well, that's a tough question.
It's tough to project out that far.
Yeah, it really, in the given circumstance that we're dealing with, it's a market-driven commodity. I would be very hesitant to say yes or no to that. I don't know.
I would say that if you have the means to, and if you're going to be sticking with oil for your heating next winter, you might be able to take advantage of these lower prices now for a fill up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of programs out there too that help folks who want to make a switch away from that really volatile oil pricing to something more efficient and consistent in pricing, like electric or gas. That we all work on too. So if that's of interest, Claire, we'd be happy to talk with you about that. And thank you, Sean, for bringing up the piece about unemployment. I mean, it can't be understated, just the hardship that is going on out there and the growth in potential eligibility for programs that have been around and can really help folks get a hold on their energy costs.
Yeah.
What do you think is like a first step to wanting to do this? If your income's changed, some high energy bills might be on the horizon. What's the first thing you recommend? Well,
really give us a call or fill out the intake form at MidHudsonEnergyChoices.org. I really, it's hard. That's a hard question for me to answer, but the first thing is always, to me, baseline is an audit. You want to know what's going on, and we can link you into the programs that can help with getting an audit, home energy audit. It's a tough question to ask because every building is so different, right, Colin? You could have 5 houses, row houses that look exactly the same from the outside, but their energy footprints are just totally different, So we really encourage folks to come to our site, which we have up there on the screen, and just fill out that intake form. And we ask some really good questions that we can kind of propel the conversation forward from there. But the audit's going to give you, your kind of baseline where you're at, figure out what you have in your walls, really look at, your usage, and try to develop a roadmap for your individual home on how you can improve the envelope and make it as best as it can be.
I think it's worth mentioning too that even though the New York State pause order means no on-premises work can continue right now, the energy advisors, all of us, Sean and Danielle, are are very fortunate to have the privilege of continuing our work to help serve residents in the Mid-Hudson Valley, help them lower their energy costs. So we do really encourage folks to give us a call if you are experiencing really high energy bills and you're very concerned about that and what programs can give you some relief on those bills. We're happy to help connect you with the folks who can help get you enrolled in HEAP and those assistance programs. I mean, there's a few others too, just from Solar for All, which provides that extra measure of utility bill assistance with solar credits to Empower New York, which is that long-term solution to high energy bills, where you get in and tackle some of those issues going on in the home and make that as efficient as possible.
Now, Colin, you said that the workers are on pause right now. So, is there any one of those programs that you just mentioned that don't involve people coming to your house and you could still save money on your energy?
Solar for All might be the easiest one to sign up for. I mean, you can fill out the online application, and most of that is pretty much all handled behind the scenes. There's no need to install panels on site. It's all done from that community solar model. And I know we still have all of that space in the Mid-Hudson Valley region that can be filled. So it's a good low-hanging fruit there for anyone curious on how they can save a little bit there. And I do want to just kind of be mindful of the time. We only got a couple minutes left. So in the big sense, what do you think is COVID-19's impact on home energy use?
We're using more electric at home. We're using more fuel at home. So I think it's a really important time for people to kind of look inward in a sense and look at how we can combat these costs, and with so many kind of finding themselves in new financial situations, you may be eligible for some kind of program that you might not have been eligible for prior. So getting a hold of us, community energy advisor, and we can try to direct you in the right, right kind of program area. I do think there's some DIY stuff folks can do, like lights are a really easy thing anybody could change a light bulb, renter or a homeowner. If you do a little light inventory, look for chances to upgrade to LEDs. If you haven't done that already, they are reasonably affordable now. And then I would refer you to your utility, online marketplaces. Most of our utilities in the state have an online marketplace where you can get discounts on things like programmable thermostats, aerators, low flow shower heads or high efficiency shower heads, things like even your LED lights that I just mentioned, you can find on some of those marketplaces.
Definitely a lot of DIY stuff. And I know we're going to be looking to do some future topics on that too. And before we get into any more of those, Danielle, what's your big takeaway? What do you think the lasting impact is going to be from this on our energy bills?
Well, as somebody who at the moment does not pay her own energy bill, it's still something I'm conscious of. And I try with every action, I try to be considerate because I know my landlords are paying the brunt of their burden and I like my landlords and I'm friends with them. So I try to be energy conscious, even though I'm not the one footing the bill. That just means being conscious of what I leave on. Like, do I leave my laptops on? No, I turn them off at night. Do I, turn off appliances when I'm not using them, turn off lights when I'm not using them. I'm just trying to be more energy conscious since I am home. And I have realized that personally, I have got to be using more energy. So I'm just trying to just be energy conscious myself and help out what little I can do.
Good. And it's good to be mindful of those things, especially because you don't want them to come back and up the rent next year, right?
Exactly.
So this has been a really awesome discussion. I want to thank both of you, Sean and Danielle, for chatting with me, finding so much great information out there, and want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll be back here next Thursday at 5 as well, kind of taking this conversation into that health realm. Of course, we're all very conscious about our health these days, and there's a really interesting and strong connection between energy efficiency of our buildings and our health. So hope you can join us next week when we revisit that. If we didn't get to anybody's questions today, we'll certainly do our best to follow up in the chat and the comments, follow up with you. You can send us an email. Our contact info is on the screen. You can give us, any one of us, a call, send us an email, and we'd be happy to chat more about any of these things. And so until next week, be well and stay safe, everyone.
Bye.